the other end of the floor, it was the first time I've really seen Luka Doncic in that third quarter. It was one of the worst quarters I've ever seen him play. Not just in playoff basketball, where he's been absolutely unreal throughout his 25 games or whatever, but just in general even, throughout the regular seasons. I think the big issue for Dallas, looking to tomorrow to game 2, and then looking ahead to the rest of the series as well, especially back at home, is they need to try and make an emphasis of basically shooting the ball really well to start the game. Because what we saw yesterday is they went 3 of 19 from 3 in the first quarter. They put up 19 3-point attempts in the first quarter. That's ridiculous. And then they continued to put them up, and they just didn't make threes for the first half. Well, they didn't make threes for the whole game, but especially in that first quarter, like 3 of 19. And from there, the Warriors go from a perspective where they're trying different things against Luka. Luka actually played well. I think he had 18 points in the first half. And they're trying different things to try and guard Luka. But the issue is, there's some wide open shots there from the Mavericks, and they just weren't hitting them. They were not hitting them. So come the third quarter, the Warriors are like, oh, okay, so if that's the case, why don't we just use Wiggs one-on-one with Luka? And then everyone else can kind of help off their man just a little bit more than what they were in the first half, because they're just not hitting their threes. And then what do you see in the third quarter? Luka has a number of turnovers where there's Warriors players, Curry, Clay, whoever it is, are just half guarding their man who's on the wing or in the corner, and then they kind of just put their arm out and reach, really, which is a risk, but the Warriors, that's probably one of the things they're really good at, and it starts with a guy who's not playing at the moment, now injured, Andre Iguodala, who's probably the best ever at it, is just putting your arm out and stripping players, swipe down, and getting all of a sudden, ball's free, ball's loose, pick it up, and they're on their way. And when they start playing with pace on fast breaks like that, it's game over. And we saw, third quarter, 2 or 3 times, Luka driving to the rim, getting stripped. Because the Warriors players, Warriors defenders, are helping just a little bit more in the third quarter than they did in the first half, because the Mavs just weren't hitting their shots. So they're like, all right, well, we're happy to help off a little bit. Wiggs can go one-on-one with Luka, and then even if he was to get past him a little bit, there's still going to be a bit more help there than what there was in the first half. So that's going to be fascinating going into the rest of the series, is especially early in games, can Dallas, their role players, start to hit open threes or half open threes to force the Warrior defenders to actually stay out on the wing, stay out in the corner, and not help off and help Wiggs, who did a fantastic job himself on Luka in game 1. And I think he got a bit of disrespect by all the people that said going into this series, who's going to guard Luka? Andrew Wiggins? We just saw Mikal Bridges. He was no chance against Luka. Now, I'm not saying Wiggs is going to go this whole series stopping Luka Doncic. Like, Luka's probably going to he's probably going to come out and have 35 tomorrow. He's probably going to have a 40-point game, whatever else. But Andrew Wiggins is a really good defender. He really is. And the first time I saw something that I don't think a lot of people pick up on was in the playing game last season. So we all acknowledge he's really long, he's really athletic. So people think, oh, he's a good defender because of that. He's long, he's athletic. That's a good basis for being a good defender. I think people underrate the fact that he's really underratedly strong. He's kind of wiry strong. And I first saw that last season in the playing game where he was guarding LeBron, and LeBron was trying to take him in the post a couple of times. And there was one play that sticks out in my mind. I feel like if I'm remembering it now, I'm going to remember it for the rest of my life, even though the Warriors lost that game. There was a play in the first half where LeBron's trying to post up Wiggs, couldn't move him off the block. And I thought to myself, wow, like, Wiggs is kind of strong here because LeBron's one of the biggest, strongest guys in the league. And Wiggs is holding his own. And LeBron went into a fadeaway jumper, and then Wiggs blocked it. And I was like, okay, that's interesting. And that play has just kind of stuck out to me. And as Wiggs has gone along and continued to be a really good defender, that's what sticks out to me, as well as what people see, which is the long athletic guy. He's actually really strong. And against Luka Doncic, That's really important because Luka doesn't rely on any kind of athleticism. He's just so strong to get to his spot, take contact, and then finish through contact, as well as all the craftiness and stuff like that. So it's about being disciplined, but it's also the fact that Wiggs has the physical assets. He talked after the game about how in the second half he picked up Luka full court. And everyone's like, geez, Wiggs is picking Luka up full court here? Like, this is serious stuff. And then after the game, he's like, I don't get tired. I'm fine. And I thought, okay, like this guy has got the physical capacity to go with Luka. Now, Luka can also drain you mentally because of the amount of concentration that you have to, focus in on Luka for that period of time throughout a game, throughout a 7-game series. He's just so crafty with what he does. You just don't want to go for any of his fake. I thought the Warriors, that was one of the things they did really well, was especially even when like Kevon Looney went on to Luka. Like, don't bite on any of his fakes. Don't go for all the, the dribble moves and all the stuff that looks really cool. Just contest. Just contest your shot. He's going to make some ridiculous shots. That's who Luka Doncic is. He's an incredible shot maker. But if you contest the jumper, then as a coach, if you're Steve Kerr, that's all you can ask for. And in the third quarter, there was a period there where there's 2 back-to-back possessions where it was one of the rare times where I've seen Luka lose confidence in himself almost. So the first one is, they were back-to-back plays, by the way. The first one is, he gets a step on Wiggs, and he's actually in front of Wiggs, and Wiggs is chasing him. And he basically gets to just under the rim. And from my viewpoint, the way I saw it, is that was a layup. That was a layup happening for him there. And if you go back, if you rewind to the first quarter, he had a very similar kind of play where he kind of just did that crafty thing where he stops a little bit, lets Wiggs basically run into him without it looking like an offensive foul, and he got an and one. And then in the third quarter, I thought he put himself in a position where he could just do that again, pretty much. And instead, he kind of slowed down, and then he tried to kick it out, and Wiggs got a deflection, and there was a turnover, and the Warriors went the other way. And I just remember watching it thinking, that looked like a layup to me, especially with his ability to take contact and finish through it. I was like, okay, that's a bit weird. And then the play after. So when they were trying to get Steph in action, they were trying to get Steph in action to guard Luka. Now, the Warriors' defense to that was Steph would show a bit, he'd hedge a little bit, and then he'd try and get back to his man as quickly as possible. But what that left was a brief period of time, and a brief little bit of space for Luka to go to work. And the play after the one I just spoke about, that happened where there's a pick and roll. They try to get Steph in the action. Steph showed a bit, hedged a bit, got back to his man. Wiggs, again, trailing Luka. And Luka basically got to the elbow and had Jordan Poole in front of him. That was the only player in front of him was Jordan Poole. And if I'm Luka Doncic, he should be going up against anyone in that situation. But Jordan Poole, I was like, okay, well, this should be a bucket. And Luka goes to the rim, and then it was almost as if he was like scared of the contact, or I'm not sure what was really happening. But he ended up putting up like a sky hook floater bank attempt, which missed. Now, sometimes he'd make that shot, fair enough. But I just thought, wow, it's almost as if you went away from the contact there, when, in my opinion, he had a space where he was just going up against Jordan Poole. He's going to bulldoze Jordan Poole. And Jordan Poole's not a charge taker necessarily. So I was like, okay, this is weird. Why didn't he, in that situation, go up really strong with it and try and finish through whatever contact Jordan Poole was going to throw at him? I mean, we're talking about a short, weaker guard in Jordan Poole, who's not a great defensive player. He's no match for Luka Doncic. And it was the first time there where there's a couple of plays in a row where I thought, he's a bit rattled. And that was probably the stage of the game where I was like, okay, this game's over. Because the margin by that point was about 20. And Luka had those couple of plays. And then he started talking with Jason Kidd while the game was going on. And basically, I don't know what he was talking about, different plays, whatever it was. But you don't do that if you're not a little bit frustrated, kind of thing. And if you haven't lost confidence in what you're doing. And it was one of the rare times where I've seen Luka Doncic lose a bit of confidence.